Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. We can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, we've got, I think, quite an interesting week ahead of us. And it has already started with the U.S. and China over the weekend announcing a big trade deal. And we will be talking about that quite a bit today. But before we get into too much of that, let's go over to the charts. Wait, you guys are still all there, right? Yeah, all there. Let's just take a quick look at the liquidity. 3,000s, 4,000s on the DOM. The liquidity looks good. Oh, we're not okay. I'm not seeing. Just make sure we got public. 6:30. Okay, we're good. We're just a little bit earlier than normal. That's all. Okay, so the reaction from the markets is pretty much across the board risk off. So that means sell the treasuries, buy everything else, and you can see the S&P 500 up big. Now, I will say there was the gap over the weekend, and then there was like this move right here, which was like the joint statement by the U.S. and China. It actually not that huge of a sell-off from that. So, and I'm not exactly convinced that this is overall a sell the treasuries event. Interest rates are probably still likely to normalize regardless of what's happening. So, I don't know if it's just an outright sell the treasuries. Just wanted to note that you can see oil up really big on this news. Gold down. Now that one makes sense, I think, too, because a lot of the gold buying was from central banks because of their concerns about these sorts of things. That might mean, well, I don't think that you completely sell off gold, but I think that it does mean that gold chills out a little bit, and maybe silver too. Remember, with silver, the thing is, like, if there is some sort of squeeze in gold or something like that, and people start going, oh, I missed the boat, I want to get in on silver, then silver like jumps up really hard. But otherwise, silver tends to underperform gold. But you can see here, in this case, silver sold pretty hard. Copper. Okay, I would have expected copper to be up really big off of this news, and they are not. There's not that much of a change in copper. So I'm a little bit, so that has me all of a sudden like really kills my enthusiasm for the day. Why is copper not up? Okay, here's the Japanese yen. Japanese yen taking a hit from this as well. And the dollar rising pretty aggressively. So, like, here's part of my thing with, like, I don't know if this is just an outright sell in the treasuries. Okay, so if they are moving all of their money back into dollars, where are they going to put it? Just in the stock market? They're not going to buy any treasuries with it? I think that some of these countries are going to want to build back up their capital reserves if they had reduced them. Isn't that what was happening over here? That's what everybody said was happening. We don't actually know what it was. Okay, whatever. Here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin, it don't care. No matter what happens, Bitcoin's up, right? And we had a pretty good trend last week, early in the week. And we are slightly higher this morning. Nothing too big, but slightly higher. I kind of wonder, I can't show it. I have to go to this one. Okay, like, we are not back to the highs from like just after the ETFs got announced and everything. But here's the thing. I'm going to come back to the main screen now. My current base case scenario is that the Federal Reserve is going to normalize interest rates. Okay, the market is selling off on the treasuries. They seem to have been more concerned about the trade deal's impact on all of this. But if we get past that, and let's note, by the way, this is a 90-day pause sort of a thing, so it's not like the trade war negotiations are completely over. There's probably still going to be more twists and turns in this, okay? But once you get all of that out, I think that the Federal Reserve needs to normalize interest rates, and financial conditions right now are still tight. So at some point, I think that the treasuries are going to flip around and they're going to move back towards more of like a 2 or 3% interest rate instead of the 4.5-5% that we've been getting right now. And when that happens, that might actually be a reason to buy Bitcoin, right? That's like more money in the system, more money to buy Bitcoin with, right? And it hasn't really had like a real significant. So I would say that Bitcoin in particular, as much as it pains me because I really hate it, and I was really hoping during the trade war thing that they were gonna, there was some points where it really looked dire for them, and then the money printer turned back, you know, like Tether started printing money again and saved it. So it's back to, unless some government steps in and goes, hey, wait, you're basically counterfeiting money with this, Bitcoin looks really, really good right now. Maybe I should just say that just in the hopes that the market contradicts me and they just get absolutely creamed. Hey, I'm happy either way, right? All right, so for the treasuries here this morning. Well, I would think that on a day like this, that there would be opportunities for us. But the level 2 activity and the amount that this has moved and so forth is not reflecting that at all. So is it the case that the treasuries are just going to kind of sit and chill until the inflation data later this week? Oh, let's make sure to turn on our robot. Hopefully this is not a situation where it ends up taking a ton of trades and everything, because it looks pretty dead to me. I would think that when it's pretty dead that it doesn't get to those big imbalances, but I could be wrong and we need to add a filter for activity. So one of the things that I want to know off of this trade deal. So like, well, first, what is the actual like stuff that we get? Okay, it's a 90-day pause. Is it a 90-day pause? It's not a 90-day pause. They are rescinding tariffs. The United States is bringing its tariff rate on China back from a high of 145% down to 30%. And China is bringing their tariffs down from 150% or something like that down to 10%. Okay. And this should be at least for 90 days to allow them to negotiate further. So that, for starters, is much better than the market was anticipating, at least at this juncture. I think that they were expecting, like Donald Trump tweeted, 80% sounds right to me, but percent can do what he wants, right? I think that the market expected them to do it like, oh, it was 140%, we'll bring it back to 100% or something like that. Nah, it was, so the actual reduction amount was a lot more than the market was anticipating. But the thing that I'm seeing is that the overall like tone and language in the tariff went much further than I anticipated. There was, I've seen some comments here kind of acknowledging that the tariffs were really, really hurting China. Basically, like current tariff rates are unsustainable, yada, yada, yada. neither country wants to decouple from the other. That there is a trade imbalance issue that needs to be solved, and they're both dedicated towards resolving it. So that in particular seems like really, really significant to me. That China is saying like, okay, like this did really hurt. We can't just go it on our own. This whole idea that like eventually we can just pull back and be this communist utopia or something like that is kind of silly. And you know, I kind of wonder if the end result of this is an even closer economic ties between countries. You know, it could be the case. I do think you can get a situation where countries both become more independent and have more trade with each other, right? And a more balanced trade between countries, especially because I mean some countries are small and like what are we going to get from them, or what are they going to get from, you know, it's just there's going to be some trade imbalances with some countries. But between the US and China in particular, I really think that it should be, yeah, there's certain things that we make that they need, and there's certain things that they make that we need, and there should be balanced trade between the two of them. And it looks like that, or at least in the statement, that's what they want to move towards, right? And so that's where I'm saying you could have a situation where like, okay, like the US continues to increase the manufacturing of semiconductors in the United States, for instance, right? So we become more independent, but there's more overall trade between the countries. So those can both happen at the same time. And that's kind of what it sounds like is going on to me. So first of all, that's like a big risk on. That's like, yeah, people are going to make money. People are going to make money. They're going to, markets are going to rally on that hard. But I also wonder if in the long term, if that's not somewhat of a deflationary force. I mean, that's what trade was for a long time, and that's a big part of why for the last 10, 20 years or so, interest rates have been abnormally low. If we're going back into that regime, if the market doesn't, you know, bring interest rates back, eventually you're going to start to see deflation, and then the treasuries will really rally, because then it will be like, we're reducing interest rates, we're doing quantitative easing and things like that, and not in a situation where it was because of a crisis or anything like that, right? That would be an interesting market. So that's the sort of thing that I think we got to keep an eye on. But today, it's almost certainly the dominant force so far has been risk-on flows selling treasuries. So, and we are down 3 ticks now. Not on significant selling, but we did come down 3 ticks. That's actually kind of in contradiction to what I am seeing in the Japanese yen as well. So be a little suspicious of that move. Well, let's browse around Reddit. I think that there probably be some. So one thing that happened last time around. What is more correlated to the 10-year, ZN or TN? TN, absolutely TN. So the TN is intended to be like delivery of treasuries that are really like maturities at 10 years. Versus ZN, while they call it the 10-year treasury, but in order to have enough liquidity and people involved in everything, they allow maturities as low as 7 years. Okay. And it turns out that under certain circumstances, like we're having today, the cheapest to deliver, I believe, ends up being the 7-year one. right? So that's why ZN tends to follow more of an interest rate of a 7-year than a 10-year. And the issue with that is that if you're looking at the interest rate curve, right, you would expect the curve to be like continuous little curve like this, right? But it tends to be like this with a little bump here at the around the 7 to 10 year, between the 7 and 10 year. That's like the tenure that for whatever reason institutions want, essentially, right? And so you get this bump. So that's why the difference between a 10-year and a 7-year, 10-year and 7-year, ends up being like a little bit bigger than you might expect. So now, if your question though is like, okay, I want to trade the micro 10-year treasury, I guess I want to have correlated assets up, I should have TN up, right? That would make sense, right? Well, that would actually absolutely be useful. Like if TN ticks, so you probably should see the micro 10-year tick too. But there's just not as much activity in TN. So really, I think that no matter if you're going to be trading the treasuries, no matter which side of the curve you're going to be doing and everything, I would still keep ZN up, because that is the ringleader. That is where the vast majority of the money is going into, okay, is ZN. But if you find it difficult to, like gain the difference between, okay, like I can see ZB and I can see ZN, and I can see ZB went down a little bit further, and so then the 10-year went up a little bit more than ZN went down, or whatever, and I'm just not having trouble. I'm having trouble sorting that out. Then maybe adding TN might be useful there, right? And there could also be something like, I want to provide liquidity. I don't think I'm very competitive in ZN, but maybe I would be competitive in TN. That could also be the case. So those are some of the considerations there. Another thing I would note is that there's a bunch of tools on the CME website. If you go to their interest rate section and then go to tools, and there's tons of tools that kind of help you sort these things out. Okay. Let's see here. So the treasuries, they kind of had that sell. They were down 3 ticks, and now they're up 3 ticks. Well, on the up 3 ticks, there was actually a little bit of volume, but only a teeny tiny bit. We can zoom in here so you can see it. Teeny tiny bit. But a little bit of buying. I don't think that in and of itself is enough to get me into anything. But I do kind of feel this desire to be long. Oh man, was that really? So there's this whole thing, the Florida Panthers and what do they call them? The Canadians? I forget what the other team is called. I don't even remember which city they are now. But good grief. I guess I'm not having a very good morning. Anyways, Panthers, super dirty team. Super dirty team. And I guess the Panthers owner was tweeting at them, calling them anti-Semite losers. That is, wow, that is a wild tweet. Like, I'm not even going to touch, like, is it, like, offensive to say that or what? Because he's just saying they're anti-Semites, pro-Israel. But, like, that is not somebody that a business leader should be tweeting. I'm really quite sure. Oh, there's 590 comments on that in r/NHL too. Good grief. Okay, they came back down. I think on this one I'm gonna take a little bit of a gamble here. I'm just gonna start just nibbling a little bit here. I do kind of think this is a risky play, so I'm not going to be playing it with my live account. Maybe if I see better volume, then maybe I will take something. And I'm also kind of expecting to be able to scalp a tick or two here mostly. So if it just like really starts selling, then I've got to bail on it quickly, right? Oh, it's the Leafs. That's the name of the team, is the Leafs. Bad look for Florida. I think it's on right now. It takes special kind of trash to make people side with the Leafs. Okay. Okay, so they ticked up, and I'm not seeing a lot of activity on that offer, right? And that bid is still low. So that says to me that we are very much in a liquidity hole area of sorts. In this case, not because like there was a big transaction there earlier, although maybe something did happen before we got in here. But it looks to me like this is just, it's been here for a really long time. It's been here for a really long time, and the market makers are kind of like bored of this area. So they're not really willing to take on anything here. That does kind of set us up for if there's not really a large meta order, I would have to think that there would have to be somebody wanting to do something on, you know, off of the trade war and everything. I'm really skeptical that is just going to be, they're just going to sit here until inflation numbers later this week. Okay, well, that downtick was a lot of reaction to that downtick, wasn't there? I think that this kind of sets us up for an area that might have a little bit of a shakeout. So gotta be cautious here. Okay, yeah, the liquidity on the inside at 04 looks pretty weak as well now. They did have to take out a good amount of orders to take it at 04 though. See that the bid there when they ticked up was pathetic. Okay. So there was a little bit of a reaction to that uptick, but they weren't able to hold it. Like, they could be tricky, but I don't think that looked very good for buyers. I think anyone who has profited from this trade war is a really good trader. Well, I mean, my stock portfolio is up. I mean, I think overall it's down from the thing, but like I have vastly outperformed the market during the trade war thing. It's kind of weird. Actually, when things open up, we need to, Uzi says the same. Yeah, so when the market opens up, we really need to go and take a look at the sectors and everything and see how things are doing, right? Like for Uzi, the big question is going to be, how is AT&T going to perform today? Because I would expect AT&T to be up, but not nearly as much as anything else. That it's probably the back of the pack today for utilities, right? And for me, the one that I've had that's the most interesting to look at is Rare Earth Resources, REEMF. And on that one, there have been some positive developments from that company in the past few months. So I think to some extent it's up because of that, but it's also been up because of all of these concerns about China, like not letting the US import rare earth minerals and all of that sort of a thing. So I'm curious to see if Rare Earth Resources sells today or not. That would maybe help me differentiate between these two flows that I've been seeing in that stock, right? Your pre-market, you're down 0.41, really? I'm actually really surprised that it's not only that it's down, but it's down almost 0.41. So is that to say that AT&T is down pretty big pre-market? Oh no, not down in percent, but just down 41 cents. Okay, that's not such a big deal, is it? 1.47%. I don't know. Let's see here. Let's pull up T. Yeah, they are down. They are down, but I mean, it's basically giving up Friday's gains. I'm not going to cry about that. Oh man, I have to go out a lot further to be able to see when they like really shot up. Huh. Was kind of in this area where it was like, whoa. Was really around here was when AT&T really started outperforming. Yeah. Let's see here. I outperformed the market for the first few years since the inception of my portfolio, then decoupled from that and underperformed, but still up. Then the trade war craziness and started to outperform again. Yeah, you know, for me, I would say there was definitely a period there, like, especially after 2022, let's say. I mean, but really from this whole thing, this whole saga post-COVID, where I did not participate as much on the rise up, and then after that, didn't come back as far, but because I didn't move up as much, I was still underperforming. And then it wasn't until just before the trade war that I started to outperform. And I would say that is largely because of banks. Like I outperformed mondo big time because most of my portfolio is bank. So, but there was some space in there where I made a couple of mistakes. Some mistakes that, you know, could have been easily avoided mistakes, not just like, oh, I was wrong, but like, you know, REMF did a offering and I missed it, for instance. That was one of the mistakes that would have had me up big time. I could have taken some profits off of that. That would have had me up big time. So, and then I probably would have just been outperformed the whole time. So, I don't know. I kind of feel, though, that I'm reasonably well positioned for, you know, trade normalization. Let's hope. Let's hope. Bro, I'm so thankful for your existence because you showed me the fact that if NinjaTrader being so open to anything you program in the add-ons, it's so useful you can literally deconstruct ticks to registers. Well, what it is that, because most of these platforms have programming, right? But NinjaTrader has a event-based framework, essentially, so that I can say every time that new volume comes in and I do something with it. And that makes it really easy to conceptualize and make your own order flow indicators, essentially. And, you know, for a lot of my indicators, I feel that the basic concepts of them are actually really simple. And all I did was I just added additional stuff on top of it, like the caching and so forth, things that we're kind of missing that kind of are essential to being able to use it, right? And those parts are really hard to program. Those are like, they require some real programming and a lot of complexity around it. And I'm really quite proud of the framework that I've built. It's really held up. Like, even as I expand and introduce new things to it and everything, I don't have to go back and completely rewrite earlier parts of things. So it's been really, really good. Right? But it is not like the base concepts are not super complicated, right? And that's just kind of a testament to that NinjaTrader really is good for developing your own order flow indicators, easier than anywhere else. You basically are creating a reversed CP. What? No, I don't know about that. Okay, well, I'm glad that I was able to scratch that trade because they did push into 03. So the net flows still seem to be balanced towards selling, although the selling is still super, super tepid. So small things. Well, you know, if you want to thank me, just go on to a video and give it a like and comments. That's what helps the channel out the most. We were going through a period where it was like, let's do everything that we can to try and make money from this so that I can just do this, because time was running out. You guys didn't step up. So I wouldn't, you know, it was a long shot. I wouldn't have expected anything big to have happened there, but we have a day job again. So, and it's a much more demanding day job in terms of my time, at least. So we kind of go into a period where, at least until July, it's much more difficult for me to make content, unfortunately. But if you guys go and you like and comment on the videos, it helps a ton. And I do have a few ideas on some videos that I want to make. I do think, you know, this whole thing that's like, I really should make a book at some point. I'm definitely not going to forget that. I don't really have the time to write it right now, but I do think that I should write a book and, you know, book, course, whatever, and sell it for like $80 or something. I don't know. It'd be pretty in-depth book too. I think it would be a long book. My hope is that, you know, if you go out and you print it, that it'd be a big thick. It'd be something like this. It'd be something like this guy. It'd be a big. And I'm also still like, I'm with the indicators, right? But another thing that kind of came out of that was like, oh, I need to market the indicators better. So like if I am able to make some videos in this time period, it's probably going to be more like one-off videos about the indicators themselves. And I'm still going to try and put as much of our budget as we can into the indicators. Like I think that we save up a good amount of like advertising budget and make like Google ads of some sort or something like that. So it really seems to me like there are indicators in the NinjaTrader ecosystem that are supporting full-fledged companies, and I think that what I've made is better than anything else out there, so why am I not doing that? What about videos about coding and mindset while coding? I don't know. You know, this is one of the things that kind of bothers me, honestly, is that I think that my primary competency, the thing that I'm really truly good at, is the programming and software development side of things. And yet I'm really not sure how I would approach trying to provide more content for you guys to teach programming. A lot of the earlier videos were about that, but I kind of felt like I gave people the base tools necessary to go and do things on your own, and most of the programming from that point is just making your own thing and looking at other people's code. And so I'm not entirely sure what kind of videos I would make in that vein to help you guys out. Now, on the split side, one of the things that will happen a lot is I will learn something new and then I will immediately turn around and teach it to you guys, right? So, you know, if we are able to do more stuff with machine learning, for instance, we could make videos about that. But like this idea of like coding and mindset while coding, I don't know about that one. I'm not. It's one of those things that I kind of feel like I just kind of do, and I'm not sure how I teach to other people. I kind of feel to some extent that it's just some people have that personality and some people don't. You know, so I feel like that I'm to this like unconscious competency sort of thing. I don't know. I think the thing is that when you're competent at something, and you are just naturally so, you don't understand as much as when you really struggled at something and then got good at it, which I really think is the case with trading. I think that I had some early success that kind of built things up and got me, kind of hooked me in, and then, you know, in the in-between period, I struggled a lot, like big time. And it's only been the last 2 or 3 years where I've really felt like that I was locked in. And unfortunately, that's been a period where I haven't been able to take on as much risk as I would like. But I still feel that my reading of the market was really good during that period. So, you know, machine learning is not helpful. Why not? So here's the thing, Dominic. If I go and I create a strategy with the tools that NinjaTrader gives you, which are almost exclusively tools based on price, because if you try and use order flow tools in a strategy, at least NinjaTrader's order flow tools in a strategy, it's a nightmare. right? Like you have to do take replay, and it's not very accurate, and you can't go back very far, takes forever. So it's really hard to build a strategy off of that. My tools are kind of been created to help you fix those issues, right? But if you're just using the stuff that NinjaTrader comes with, I really don't see how you make a profitable short-term trading strategy out of that. Swing trading, different issue. Doing swing trades and NinjaTrader can be really, really useful for that as well, okay? But day trading, based off of price indicators and stuff, I've never been able to find a strategy that really passed the metrics that I would like to see on a 5-year basis. And I'm kind of starting to come to the feel like it used to be, well, like it would be really, really hard. I'm probably unlikely to find it. I have now come to, like, I actually don't think it actually exists. And so how do you get over that? You know, is it like, is that a dead end? Well, my current theory is that to really have success with those sorts of things, that there are certain dynamics like regime switching and so forth that you have to be able to deal with, and you can only do that with machine learning. In other words, I'm starting to believe that the only way to really make a very effective intraday trading robot is to be incorporating machine learning into it in some fashion. So, and I'm not too familiar with the forms of machine learning that might be useful to financial modeling and particularly to day trading, you know? So there's a lot to learn there for me. So people who do machine learning have an advantage in trading? I think so. I think that the robots that are out there providing liquidity and beating us are using machine learning, yeah. Because it's just like there will be a complete regime switch and they all do it. Like today is a great example. They, like, all of the robots are doing the same thing as like, oh, nothing's happening today, and kind of playing the edges and pushing people out of positions on the edges. Why is it that there is it because there's really actually only one robot? I don't believe that's the case. There's certain things that I can see from the robots that the regime has changed, but like the robots seem to know that the regime has changed on their own. And how do they do that? It has to be machine learning. Look at how a PNG incited tape can run a program by reading a single. I think that you need like buffer overflows to do that though. Right? You have to load a bunch of data, but then you have to fool the program into running that data. Which means that you have to have a place where it's going to read an address or something, and because of a buffer overflow or something like that, you've overflown into that. No, I don't see how that would work. Doesn't machine learning require heavy computation? I mean, yeah, but I think we can hack it. I think we can handle it. Got a nice video card for it. I've got dual machines, some excess computing capacity, essentially, a whole rack mount, the network infrastructure, everything. Like once we really, if I really find something, Like my initial testing shows like this is kind of that missing link, and now we have something really, really effective. And then, you know, I'm willing to put thousands and thousands of dollars into computing infrastructure to do it if we get that far. But I think I need to, I don't know, what's my, so I don't think that, man, this is tough. I just really don't have a lot of free time, honestly. And when I do have free time, it's like in the evening, and I don't necessarily want to be doing work, and I'm not going to be able to focus or concentrate, because whatever I'm doing, I have to be able to sit down at a moment's notice and deal with whatever the boys are doing. Okay. I also, oh man, I totally forgot about this. It's so funny. You go to sleep and then you forget about something, or like you might be I will be really focused on something on Friday, and then on Monday, I'll have completely forgotten what I was doing last week. Right. That's the ADHD side of me. So I kind of made things worse this weekend. I kind of did something a little rash. I wanted to sand. I'm building this cabinet for the dogs to go into, because right now we have like a cage that we can kind of move around, and the boys will try and play with it and move it around, and it's just really annoying. Trying to build that. So I needed to go and get a sander, and I remember they have the sander that I wanted at the Cal Ranch store. If you don't have Cal Ranch, it's basically like Walmart for Hicks. It's like it's all farming stuff. And I'm not necessarily farming stuff, but like people that they want to live in an area where like they're farming, but they're not really like dependent on that for income or anything like that, right? Okay. They're probably rich from some other means. That's kind of what the Cal Ranch store is like. And so I'm there, and they had baby chickens, which I thought, you know, usually that stuff all happens in March and April. And a lot of people really wanted to buy chickens because we have the egg shortage. And my wife wants chickens that like lay colorful eggs. So, and those, you know, are like usually sell out really quickly. They call them Americana Easter eggers. And I'm there at the Cow Ranch store, and there's Americana Easter egger chicks. So I was like, I guess I have to buy some baby chicks. So we bought some baby chicks. And right now they're in the bathroom. Like before, we were putting them, when they were last round of chickens, we put them on the counter in the kitchen, like the island. But the boys are like obsessed with them. Like Asher, my autistic 5-year-old, just wants to be in there and pick them up over and over and over and over again. I actually, last night, I told him, like, you can't touch him. And every time he tried to put his hand in, I flapped it away. And he was like, this isn't as interesting anymore. So when it was time to leave, had no problem leaving. So maybe we'll be okay. But, man, he's obsessed with these baby chicks. We spent all weekend picking up chicks. And, so that's a little bit frustrating. Like, you really have to watch him, right? Have to watch him even more closely, because it's like, otherwise he might like suffer, you know. He likes to pick him up and go like this. And I'm like, isn't this what Of Mice and Men was about? Was an autistic man that he loved to cuddle the animals and stuff so hard that he would kill them? Yeah. So that makes it a little bit harder, essentially. But I do get some free time, and sometimes I might be able to, like, you know, while I'm waiting for things, read stuff at work and so forth. So I'm thinking, like, what are the things that I need to look at? Well, I think that I have a couple of career development books that I want to read. So probably need to read in that direction. But then I think machine learning is the place, and there was advances in financial machine learning, I think is the book that I need to read. 1,000 MBO bid in ZT, and they have been refreshing an MBO offer in ZN near the VWAP. Not sure I see the one that you're talking about over here, but they've kind of been skidding along the bottom, and there was a decent amount of selling by about 6,000 contracts here to bring us back to the lows. So you can kind of see that because there hasn't been a lot of flow. There hasn't been a lot of flow today, and so a move like that, the market makers seem to pull out of in front of, and had a relatively larger impact than it normally would. The momentum is definitely still on the side of selling. I guess what we need to do is we need to get the whole CTA community short treasuries, and then maybe treasuries can turn around, right? That's how he learns to treat them well. I guess so. It's kind of hard because, like, you know, like, if they don't hold it just right, when I hold the baby chicks, man, they just want to sit in my hand. They love it. But when they hold them, they are, you know, they're just not stable enough, and then the chick was like, oh no, and then he kind of tries to step out, and they'll drop him or whatever. I think that being dropped the foot isn't a huge deal. It's not a huge deal, but they sense similar brands. Okay. My understanding is that this kind of chicken is like the most friendly kind, so I'm pretty sure with the amount that the kids are touching them, they're going to be super, super tame chickens. And I'm sure that, you know, because when they get bigger, like 6 weeks from now, when they get a little bit bigger, then they'll really be able to hold them, right? Yeah, I'm still kind of in this, you know, I think I need to fight against this kind of feeling, but I just don't really see a way out of it. That I'm gonna be really kind of no free time until July, essentially. We have some Chinese neighbors down the block who have chickens and also had a rooster that I don't hear anymore. Well, I'm concerned again that one of them's going to be a rooster. There's one chicken that's smaller than the rest of them and is lighter than the rest of them, and I'm thinking, like, is that one actually a rooster? Because I seem to vaguely remember last time around we got chicks, and the one that ended up being a rooster was like the smallest one at first. And then when they grew up, all of a sudden that one ended up being taller. And it was also lighter in color. It was a big bird. He got out of the yard a couple of times and was out and about while I was walking the dog. Oh, yeah. When we go to Grandma's house, that rooster is super territorial. Basically have to keep them locked up when the kids are out. I guess one of the things that I should be doing more of... Okay, so here's another... Tell me what you think about this. Is that I do have to drive like 90 minutes every day, and so I can listen. I've been listening to the Strong Source podcast. I think I'm about halfway through that to caught up. Man, they released so fast. They were really at the beginning. They released a lot. Well, not a lot, but I mean they were consistent. Let's say. And then I guess I could do audio tapes. I'm kind of afraid that I won't pick up, that I will like be ADHD and lose my focus and everything if I'm listening to things on audio tapes, especially if I'm trying to learn something like machine learning, you know? You know, and the other issue is that I actually do understand quite a bit about, like, especially the data side. You know, everything that you got to do to get stuff into your model and everything. And then a lot of the time you don't necessarily have to completely understand how the model works. You just have to understand how to use the model because somebody's already written the model, right? But there's still this question about what is the difference between different types of models and which ones are good for finance and which ones aren't. Are there ones that are better at dealing with, fat-tailed distributions? Because that's one of the things I think we're really screwed up. Yeah. That's one place. And then I do think that I can make the office more kid-friendly. I'm hoping that if I get the office more kid-friendly or they have their iPads and I'm doing something. Well, I guess if I was playing a game, I would be able to keep them more engaged than if I was programming, huh? But I want to get to a place where I can be in here and doing stuff in my office and not worried about them tearing it apart. Probably by the time I do that, being the procrastinating, slow-moving ADHD person that I am, probably by the time I get to that point, it doesn't matter anymore. They'll be old enough that it doesn't matter. That's usually the way that things go. Okay, so I want to come around social media and see what people are saying about this trade deal, because I kind of feel like that some people should be really caught off guard by this, but I don't know, here's this Wall Street Bets Elite, which kind of seems to me to be more like we felt that Wall Street Bets has been flooded by noobs, and Super Stonk is just overwhelmed by crazy right-wing people. And so I want so this subreddit ends up being more liberal. Wall Street Bets Elite. So what are they saying? Say the line, Donald, tariffs are paused for 90 days. Yay, the Simpsons meme. Which I don't get. Do they think that the guys over on Patriots.win are going to be upset about a trade deal? I don't think that they would. Thanks to President Trump, you will have a better life than your parents, says Besant. Well, Besant is definitely the guy that's when all of this is said and done, I really think the person that's going to be given the most credit is Besant. Yeah, he's doing things under direction from Donald Trump, but I kind of am starting to wonder, could anybody else have done it as well as Besant has? We are getting a few ticks up, but it's still not accompanied by volume. But I did get enough of an imbalance to trigger my algorithm long. Basically at the high of that bar at 0.3 so we'll see how that goes. Here's this one. I get one that's more than 78 comments? Come on. It's funny, look at what they're interested in talking about. This is the Democrat Nashville mayor who's launching an emergency support fund for illegal aliens in Nashville. Right? They care more about the illegal immigration than anything else. Okay, here is the Truth Social. But okay, whatever. Not for this old Gen X dude. I'm going to have to work until the day I keel over. No, okay. They are skeptical of Besant and saying how bad things have gotten for them. College grads can't make enough to not live with roommates into their 30s. Single income families are pretty much dead. Affording a house is pretty much nil for most younger generations now. We have less than replacement rates. Well, so can I say something about this? Something that's happening with the houses is you have to get into a house when you're young. and you can't afford it. I think a lot of people are like, oh, you know, if a house is like $4,000 a month right now, right? And that's like 60% of your budget or whatever. And it's like, I'm going to be able to afford like my housing costs and food, and like, that's it. Yeah, that's basically what you have to do. That's basically what you have to do. And then what happens is your income continues to increase and inflation continues to increase. And then 10 years from now, you know, you're sitting here like, yeah, I only pay $4,000 a month for my mortgage. And people are like, what? How did you do that? It's so crazy. Because that's how I felt when I bought my house. First houses was like, how am I going to afford this? Right. And now I'm like, if I tell people I only pay $2,000 a month on my mortgage, which is, it's like $2,200. Okay. But pretty close. Right. And people are like absolutely shocked. Right. What? 7 years ago or whatever, when we bought it, it was a stretch. So that's what you got to do to get doing. And that's part of why they're so expensive, is because people are essentially buying them knowing that they will have to rely on future income to, right? Israel saying that Netanyahu spoke with Trump on Monday. Okay, so can we talk about this a little bit? I don't know what's going on. When I'm on TikTok, I see all of these TikToks suggesting that there has been a, what would we call, a fissure between U.S. and Israeli officials. With people going, with like the Trump administration threatening to just recognize the state of Palestine or something like that. I don't believe these reports. The thing is I can't find a single reputable outlet saying things like this. But there's definitely something going on. Like, to hear this morning, Netanyahu, them reporting that Netanyahu and Trump spoke. Like, there's definitely things afoot, and things that I think could have pretty profound impacts on markets. So that's one that we got to keep an eye on, okay? But I don't actually know what's going on. %30 is still quite a high tariff, but Trump pockets a win for massive reduction, and China gets to one-up him by being lower, so neither side looks weak here. I don't know. It seems like the Trump supporters aren't that interested in the trade deal, to be honest with you. So maybe that is like they're not interested in it because it's like a loss for them, but I'm still not sure I get this meme. It just kind of seems kind of weird. Actually, I didn't read the comments. We can see what they're saying in the comments. Okay, there's the S&P 500 opening up. Oh no, we won't make trillions of dollars on tariffs and pay out the deficit. I don't know, man. We are still gonna make a lot in tariff revenue this year, aren't we? Like, I kind of wonder. So one of the things that happened was a lot of people like rushed to import as much as they could. And we were just kind of getting to the point now where it was like, okay, now you're gonna start paying the increased prices from the tariffs and everything. But now that they've come down again, and do you really think that they're going to go from like 20% to 0? Because I'm not so sure that that will happen, at least not on the US side. So you might see another rush to import a ton of stuff. Then you'll actually start to, so we may actually start to see the impacts in the next month or two. And then we might be able to say like how much money is it actually going to raise. Might not be, it's probably not going to be trillions of dollars, though. Oops, clicked the wrong thing there. But this is bad, though, right? Because it was supposed to move manufacturing back to the US. Well, but they did say that they wanted to have more reciprocal trade. I don't know if that explicitly helps manufacturing, unfortunately, but I think that they are still trying to solve that in whatever trade deal that they make. So How we doing? Okay, now we've made a tick. I lost a tick. Robot is making a tick. Okay. This is still kind of like in the direction of the trade that I was taking in the first place. He's saying AT&T is coming down rough on the open. Well, it looks like that the S&P 500 overall is selling on the open. Target up 5%. Wow. That's wild. I don't know about this one. They're presenting it as if they achieved something great. They created a disaster, expecting China to fold. China doubled down and called out the BS, and now they had to abandon their policy due to internal pressures and negotiate with China. I don't think that that's what's actually happening here. I think, number one, I think that China is probably hurting worse than the United States. You wouldn't see it in their stock markets because China's been outright supporting, central bank has just been outright buying stocks and stuff. Basically, they're cheating. Over there, it's like the factories are all shut down. Like it's hurting. It's hurting. And the thing is that in the comments and everything that they put out, they basically said that they're hurting, that neither side can sustain this. But then China also made some admissions in there, like that we should have reciprocal trade and things like that. So I don't think that you can sit down and say that they've abandoned their policy due to internal pressures to negotiate with China. I don't think that that's accurate. I think that the intention was always to negotiate with China. They had to get a little bit more extreme than they thought that they needed to. This is maybe now back to where they wanted to be in the first place. In order to determine whether this policy was a success or not, we have to see the deal that they come up with. But what they've said so far gives me a lot of hope as to the type of deal that they make. Oh, wait, does he look like he's about to cry? More tariffs they might bring back in 90 days. This is better than anticipated, though. They're out there destroying U.S. businesses for absolutely no reason. This is a scam. See, this is the kind of comment that I was looking at. Proposed tariffs manipulate markets, raise prices on everything that will most likely never go back down to where they were pre-Trump term 2. Also, seeing this guy talk gives me the creeps. I feel like he's holding slaves in his secret room in his house. From Besant? Okay. Well, whatever. So the last time around, when we had the trade deal, there was people in the market that were were short and not expecting a trade deal. They were caught on the wrong side of that trade. And that day, you had all of them out saying this trade deal is fake and yada, 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 yada. Perhaps to unwind their trade. The Axia guys in particular were really pushing that line. And then the next day they forgot about it. Monday, it was they all forgot about that after that. Okay. Well, I was expecting to see some of that today. And I see the sentiment, but I don't actually see people being no, you should actually go short the S&P from this or whatever, right? Well, we are getting a pullback. Let's come back over to just kind of catch our bearings here. S&P 500. Right? Here was a jump. They're pushed further in the overnight. They're retracing some of that. Okay. So not a huge deal yet. I'm curious though on this. The Treasury's almost, well, not quite there. Let's wait and see if they get to 06 before we have to go. I've been on the lookout for a flow long because I'm a little bit skeptical that this is just as simple as risk on sell treasuries. It was risk off sell treasuries, risk on sell treasuries. I don't know. I kind of think that at some point there might be some buying in the treasuries. Let's see if it comes through. And if like big countries need to start buying, you know, maybe this results in countries having to buy more treasuries or something like that, right? I'm not sure. We haven't seen it today. Maybe they really do just keep quiet until the inflation data later in the week. Hey, see, here's the Trump supporters. I'm far from an economist, but that seems to look like Trump won the trade war, and rather decisively in our favor if it holds. That alone is going to do a lot of good to fix the economy, probably enough that Democrats start taking credit for it, saying that it was somehow the result of Bidenomics. See, they are seeing like completely different things. But I can see where these guys are getting it wrong. Like, I feel like that these guys over here on the Donald, that they're just kind of saying what I would expect Republicans to say, but I don't necessarily see anything like explicitly wrong with it. Whereas these guys, I see them missing a really, really key points, which was what they decided to say in their joint statement is much more positive than anybody was expecting, and does suggest really high hopes for a good trade deal this time. So last time around, it was basically like, okay, we're going to finish this fight later. We're just going to kind of take a pause and we'll finish this fight later, right? That's really what it was. And but this statement is not the same. This statement is like they're going to get it done, and Donald Trump is going to be happy with the result. Let's see. I like that uptick there at 05. Offers pulling. Okay. I feel like I caught the edge there pretty good. So this bid at 05 half is acting pretty strong and absorbing even as they hit it. So that's a pretty good sign. There is a pretty big order there at 19 in the 5-year though. Lots of activity on the inside here as well. That bid at 05 half though, a little reluctant to get above 2000. There we go. There we go. Ah, that was a good fill. I can put another bid here, but there's like probably no very little chance that it gets filled. So anybody want to hit 44444? Did I say that right? 4444 in the micro 10-year. Come on. It's got to be more than one. Doesn't that just look like so juicy? Maybe. Here I am sitting here. I don't even have it armed down there. Maybe I should. Nope, nope, don't like that. Okay. Ooh, that went. Ooh. Well, now you're not going to get it. Only 3 people got it. Climbing to seller cost basis? Oh, wait, is it? Yeah, you're right. 07.5 is a seller cost basis. Okay. So there was a push there, and they've kind of scaled back a little bit immediately after that push. So let's just note that. But there was, and I would also say that you know, when we're watching it, it kind of looks like you know, it's really strong. But when I look at the cumulative delta, it's still kind of meh. It's still only 10,000 contracts long. Seller cost basis above us. You would think that they would get there. I don't know. Have I ever seen a situation where, like, they come just short of it and then flip back down around to the lows? I don't know if I've ever seen that before. But I don't see why it wouldn't. Unless we get a much, much stronger flow come through here. Okay, well, there was a little bit of a machine gun at 06. So that could be a sign of a large meta order long. I think I have this scenario in my head where, like, all of a sudden the treasuries turn into like a really aggressive trend day long. And I'm like, see, this is the day that you should have bought it. And we were buying it that day and we knew it. And if I had just decided to swing it and hold it long, it would have been worth $1,000. Or, you know, I don't know why I'm having that play out in my head. That seems like a little bit too extravagant of a scenario for today. But it is looking like the movement here and the level 2 looks really, really good. It's just the outright change in cumulative delta is still kind of iffy. Yeah, Octavius noting strong bids adding, yes. Like that 06, of course they sold it, but when 06 ticked up, it looked really strong. See, now the bids are kind of acting a little weak. But that might be, you think you can get some more here. So you kind of let it look soft. How do you explain that huge drop in ES yet no strong selling shown on cumulative delta? Well, I don't know about that. The S&P 500 sold by about 3,000 contracts, which in S&P futures terms is relatively large. You know, like in ES, it's not significant until it's about 10,000 contracts, but anything more than 1,000 contracts on ES can be significant. So I would say that there was a decent drop in ES. Just keep in mind that the order flows are not as effective in index futures as they are treasuries because there's a lot more flows involved in equity indexes. Okay. But in terms of like why they might be selling over there in the S&P 500, because, you know, it wasn't just the futures, right? There's, you know, some stocks across the board. Oh, by the way, we never pulled it back up here. Let's pull it back up here real quick. Because it looks like, oh, maybe not. We lost 06 again. For a second there, we were up on 06, and I was like, that's looking good. They didn't hold it. T. Yeah, see, AT&T, it sold pretty hard on the open. Like the whole market sold on the open, but AT&T sold particularly hard. Did you take? I did take a live trade. I was like, I can't pass that number. 4.444. How can you not take a position there? I don't know. Just felt right. I don't know if I'm going to make anything from it. Yeah, the move is over and it's going to crater. It sure is kind of starting to look like that it's not going to go much further. I can say that much. At least not until I leave. Right? We've got basically 5 minutes. Is it really going to jump in that 5 minutes? Anyways, so I think that, you know, we had a really big overnight move, that there's going to be a little bit of mean reversion, and that's probably what's going on in the S&P 500. And then you're going to see it as the laggards, like the utilities, are going to sell off more than the rest of the market, which is what appears to have happened so far. Yeah. No, but it's let's stay positive, Uzi. We got to do the manifest, right? Once you start to be like, yep, now it's gonna turn around, it's gonna reverse, like you're manifesting the wrong thing. We need to stay. We're gonna manifest that just massive order flows are gonna come in long and result in a winning trade for us. Well, that 3,500 at 05 half, that is not helping. That was not a good down tick. Sorry, that was not a good down tick. Paper hit. You know what? It really was like the paper trading hit rate. What really was like 80%. But part of that was because multiple contracts, right? Different game over here in the micros that I am playing. It just shifted market maker priorities across 300 different instruments. Yeah. I do think that I'm super late to it, right? Oh. Donald Trump is going to speak to reporters? Really? Interestingly enough, this order at 05 that I've had sitting there for a while has not gotten filled yet, so. They're kind of doing the thing at 05 half, though. Yeah. So what does that mean? That means that it's not going to go anywhere before I got to go. It's going to get stuck. Oh, look at that. All of a sudden, a bunch of flows came in. A lot of longs hit at 113.16 in ZB. That was a good across the board uptick. There was a big offer at 19. It looks like they've cleared that. Yeah, we are stuck in a liquidity hole. I would say there are some signs of a liquidity hole, but it's not super strong yet. Oh, Donald Trump is taking a victory lap on India versus Pakistan, saying trade is a big reason why they stopped fighting. Okay, they didn't take it up. We got a down tick here. At least initially here on the down tick, you know, they're putting up 700, 900 contracts, so that's not terrible. Yeah, poor deltas at 03 half, 04 half, and 05. Not sure what you mean by deltas, but I like the big thing that I'm looking for is like a lot of volume is traded there, and yet very small bids and offers every time that it ticks up and down, and it ticking up and down across it multiple times. And it seems like in this market right now that like low would be like less than 500 contracts. We were seeing that a little bit, but now it's recovered and it's looking like normal again. So like if there was a really strong meta order buying, you know, they probably don't have to scale back right now. They can just continue hitting into this. It's just like there's enough of a counterflow here that they don't have to be super aggressive right now. So unfortunately for me, though, if they do push up, I don't think they're going to do it until after I'm gone. So okay, the rescind on tariffs does not include cars, steel, or pharmaceuticals. S&P 500 is on the uptrend at the moment, though. Okay, well, they're giving me liquidity right there in the micros. There's an uptick. Nope. I'm all packed and everything, so I think I can kind of push it here on time. That order book is such a joke. What are you talking about? You talking about the micros? That there's like so little liquidity there? Yeah. But that's what's fun about it, though, Uzi. I feel like that makes it so much more entertaining. Because you know that it's just small fries, you know? Oh, how it's fake. Yeah, like most of the liquidity. Well, I wouldn't say that it's fake. It's just like pretty much all of the liquidity is being provided by robots that are just trying to arbitrage between the micros and future tech. Or whatever they call it. Wherever they call that bond exchange. On this one right here in the treasury, on my sim trade, you know, since I don't care so much about that, well, not that I don't care so much about that, but we can run experiments over there and everything, right? I'm gonna try and swing that one. So I'll leave one contract on. This one over here, I guess we'll scratch it somehow. I like seeing that 05 half above 2000. $3,000 ticks, only 500 bid. 1,000 bid. Okay. Now that 06 half is pulling. I like that. Nope. Ooh, they actually absorbed quite a bit there at 06 on the downtick, though. Trump says opening up China will take a while to paper. What does that mean? Should probably be watching this press conference, but yeah, what you can do. This sucks because, like, in my old job before, it could be like, oh, I could just leave it on for another 30 minutes, even though I have to go and like, get on a conference call or whatever. I would leave the trade on, stop the stream, leave the trade on. I kind of want to do that in this situation because I do really hope that it goes up. Oh, did you get the AC fix? I did. And I didn't understand what they said about it. Like, they cleaned it and they recharged it, but they were also mentioned like 2 or 3 other things. So it kind of sounds to me like something that, like, maybe if I was an expert, I maybe could have fixed, but that I would never have figured it out. But I didn't talk to them. It all happened while I was gone, and I couldn't even read the guy's handwriting, so I don't completely understand what he did. He listed 4 things. It was like, here, actually. So I bet you if I put my bid right here at 446. No? Interesting. And you have to do some work on yours today. Nothing mechanical, just some duct work. Another okay uptick at 06. I don't know if they're quite ready to break out of this, but it's looking good there that time. Not much at 06 half, so can we get a bid at 06 half and a new high? Come on! You can do it! Nope. Well, that's funny. It's actually moving across that area pretty freely now. Come on. Hit me. There we go. They don't want to hit it, huh? There we go. Thank you. That was probably one of you. Okay. Oh, and we have the one contract on over here. Okay, cool. So we can just swing that. It's good. I think we're good here. That sucks. I do think that it's going to continue going up. Maybe we could have made 10 to 20 bucks if we could see another hour, but that's okay. I'm still, didn't lose money. I think, and if I was right, I was right. That's good. Should take that as a win. So we got lots more coming this week anyways, because we got CPI and everything, right? So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay excellent, team.